look forward to seeing you in the stadium.
Good morning, athletes, and welcome to the SFuels Stadium Sunrise Session. Please join me in welcoming our host for this morning's session, Leighton Phillips.
Well, good morning, athletes. It's 6 a.m. here on the East Coast of the U.S. It's a brisk 44 this morning, and thanks for joining us here on the SFuels Sunrise Session this morning. It's going to be another high-intensity Tuesday, so for those of you who haven't joined us, welcome to the SFuels Stadium, and thanks for those who are joining us again. And if you're on Zwift, we'll try to surface you as we get into the session proper in a few moments here. And it's been a wild weekend with having Zach Bitter in the stadium with us last weekend, and went through one of the high-intensity VO2 max sessions with him. That was a blast. It's up on YouTube now if you want to hit the on-demand play of that again. Well, this morning, it's a big show. We've actually got streaming in a second. I'll introduce you for one of our ambassadors from Florida and his experience at Ironman Florida and racing during COVID. So that's going to be really interesting to listen to him about that. And we'll also spend some time talking about our latest blog article, which get a ton of interest on, which is all about coffee and cacao. And we'll show you some of the racing that's been happening around the world. Ironman Cozumel last weekend, we had some athletes down there racing that and also volunteering, which is awesome to see. And with that, we'll also show you what's in store here in the stadium in the next 2 months. So with that, I do want to introduce us streaming in live from Florida. Dan Wilson, how you doing there this morning, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. And I know you just got over the Ironman VR 33 on the weekend. So how's the legs?
Yeah, a little sore. Debatable whether I'm more sore from that than Ironman Florida, but it was good. Good to get out there and kick the legs a little bit.
Yeah, brush off some of the cobwebs. Well, hey, I think you had to get out in the open air for the run. It wasn't indoors, huh?
No, it was not indoors. So that was a surprise on Sunday afternoon when I looked at that. But still beautiful weather. I mean, it's sunny and 80, so can't complain about that.
What was it? Did you say 80s?
Sunny and 80, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's pretty warm. Is there much shade in your part of the world, or it's pretty open?
Not much shade at all. We're in a brand new neighborhood. I just did continuous loops throughout it, so
right.
Occasional palm tree, but that's about it.
Gotcha. Well, hey, good morning to Lee Glassman's with us this morning. I think Paul Scottford's out there in Zwift. We've got a few others joining us, and folks, we're also running live on the radio stream out to the iPhone app, and we'll show a little bit about the iPhone app a bit later in the show for those who are not experienced with it. Well, if it is your first time here in the stadium, it's really simple. You'll see there'll be an interval timer come up, either a run session like today, you'll see a stopwatch interval timer come up, and if we're doing a bike session, you'll see a bike interval come up. And by the way, this Saturday, we've got our first brick session, which will be a bike run, and be great to experience that for the first time. You'll also see a couple of screens come up, like the screen that Dan's cycling in now. He's actually biking with us today as we have the chat with him on his experience in Ironman Florida, but this is a run session, don't be confused. And you'll see another screen come up, which is the Zwift screen, and we'll surface that as we go along. So 10K speed development this morning, 4K on, basically max maintainable pace. So think about this in terms of what you would typically be running for a 1 hour or 10K, and set that up as your pace on Zwift, or if you're running out on the road, probably somewhere around your lactate threshold is what you'll be thinking about. And we'll break these up with a minute walk or rest in between each of the reps. And we'll run through those, 8 of those this morning. So it's about 40 minutes of total work. So it's going to be a blast. It's like most Tuesday, it's a high intensity session. For those of you who are just not familiar with lactate threshold or what it should be for a session like this, if your lactate threshold is about 140, you probably should be targeting about 147 on your heart rate monitor. So with that, I think we're pretty much good to start. How you doing there, Dan? You're warm?
I'm warm.
You're warm.
A little chilly this morning, but I'm warm.
Good. Well, folks, I'm going to get the countdown timer started here now, and it'll give us about a minute to go before we get into our first rep of the day. And we'll kick that off in about 45 seconds. So, folks, you can start warming up, and I'll bring up some of our athletes here, and we'll surface them as we go through the show and see how they're doing as we get into the intervals here. So probably during the rest periods, you want to be bringing it back to, you can see Lee here running. He's in the 7 to 8 minute per kilometer pace, just keeping it easy. I'd build into these. 8 is actually quite a few reps, so let's be careful. I'll ramp the music up as we get into the intervals, and that'll get us started. We got about 5 seconds to go before we kick off the first interval. Here we go now. 3, 2, and 1. And we'll bring that music up. Here it is, folks. Rep number 1. It's 4 minutes on. Intensity 9 to 10 on the RPE scale. Probably on the lactate threshold about 100%.
We gotta find something to
What's that, buddy?
So we gotta find something to ring the bell on for the runners.
Oh yeah. No, I got a bell for them. Don't worry. So, folks, Dan's just talking about our cowbell here in the SFuels Stadium, and in the bike sessions we ring that at 500 watts, and in the run sessions we've been ringing that at 5 minute kilometers. So we might get into that as we get further into the session today. So maybe Dan, the Ironman Florida course, tell us a little bit about overall just what the course is like.
Yeah, a little bit of a change from last year, considering they had to move the swim start from the boardwalk down to Pier Park. Yeah, the bike course is still pretty boring, pretty flat, with the exception of the causeway over the water there that we got to climb on the way in and the way out. But that didn't really change much. Swim course, still an out and back, 2 loops in the ocean, but this was
It's pretty flat.
kind of around the, what's that?
It's pretty flat water.
Yeah, pretty flat course. I think 2,000-ish feet of ascent on the bike course, so pretty flat for that perspective. The swim is a 2-loop, straight out, straight over, straight back in the Gulf. Having the pier to sight from was interesting, but not terribly useful. Some little waves when we got out there, 1-2 foot swells, but overall went really, really well.
Okay.
And then the run, pan flat. Basically, we run down direct east toward the boardwalk, and then we turn around on part of the old bike course, and then run course and come back. It's a straight 2-loop run.
Gotcha. And it's pretty exposed, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that time of the year, the sun sets a little before 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So for most of us, we're running in the dark, which is not bad. I mean, the weather was pretty perfect, but yeah, it's some good people watching though. You got a lot of restaurants, a lot of karaoke bars.
That's cool.
People running golf carts up and down the strip there. So keeps your mind off things. Not a lot of spectators though because of the COVID protocol, but
right.
It's good and bad, I guess.
And the transition, how is that all set up this year?
Yeah, so if anyone that's done Ironman Florida, the transition zone and the boardwalk is really tiny.
Huh.
So that was the main reason they had to move it down to Pier Park. They have about 10 times the amount of space there with the giant parking lot, so that was good.
Great.
They did 2 races there, so the 70.3 Gulf Coast was going on at the same time.
Okay.
They offset that by 4 hours. So they had essentially 2 different transition zones set up and basically twice the amount of racking.
Gotcha.
So they gave you twice as much space.
Okay, folks, that's a rest of interval 1. You can bring that back and take some time to take a breath here. And as we start surfacing some of the athletes out there running this morning, got a lot of runners out this morning actually in Zwift, so good to see you around the world. Folks getting it done on a Tuesday. Could be a Tuesday afternoon in Europe, and obviously just the start of the day here in the U.S. And the weather was, I guess the water there, does it change much in temperature-wise, Dan?
Depends on the currents, but not much. I mean, it was pretty stable the whole time we were there. It was 72, 73-ish.
Right.
So wetsuit legal for age groupers, not so much for the pros.
Gotcha. Okay, folks, we're about 10 seconds away from launching into our second interval this morning, and we'll ramp that back up in a second. Bring it back up to your lactate threshold. Here it is now, rep number
2. Start your endurance training and racing free of carbs and sugars, and switch on simultaneous fat and carb burning. Check out the science at SFuels. QR code below.
So, folks, you'll hear us talk a little bit about that as we get into the stadium sessions, and that is keeping that 30 minutes free of carbs, and that's to basically open up the GLUT4 channels to allow you to burn both carbohydrate and fat. And that's important if we are to go long, and certainly in these smaller sessions, we certainly don't need to be taking on carbohydrate. That'll blunt the fat oxidation, and we'll make sure that QR code is in the notes, and you can check into the science there that is behind that. All of our products are based on that low-carb, high-fat orientation. And we'll get into talk a little bit about Dan's swim and his bike and his run in Ironman Florida as we get into the session this morning. And imagine Dan's now thinking about his next races, but obviously, unfortunately, for thinking of those athletes that were planning to be at Florida 70.3, and sorry to hear that your race is cut, and it's frustrating, we know, but hopefully we can take something out of it and build into our next session as we get into 2021. I'm going to bring the music up here, folks, and just let people get into the second interval. Nice pace there, Lee. It's good to see you off the Alpe Zwift. I think this is the first time I've seen you off the Alpe Zwift, so good to see you running on some flats here. And new experience running on flats. A few folks in Asia out and running and getting it done this morning. Obviously, a lot of folks in Europe, the middle of the day there now. Here in the US, we're just getting started. We got a minute to go, folks, and we'll wind it back to a rest. But for now, it's at lactate threshold to finish off this second rep of the day. Okay, folks, you can bring that back, and we'll have a 1-minute rest again. You'll probably find that your heart rate won't be coming down that much in a minute. It'll probably be taking a while to catch up to itself, so you won't see that be dropping right back to your resting rates. And Dan, the swim, how did they handle the waves? Was they split it out, or how did they let them go on the race?
So it was interesting. Entering transition in the morning, they told us it was basically when you come in, you stay. So they had everybody set up their transition, stay by their bike.
Right.
So they called the waves.
Okay.
Based on expected time, and then they basically walked us over there, and then they had a queue of, I don't know, kind of felt like Disney World. Yeah, 6 or 7 lanes.
Okay.
And they called basically 3 people from each lane every 3 seconds to go up and
Gotcha.
throw their mask in a bin and go ahead and start. So very orderly, very structured.
Okay, folks, we're into interval number 3, so you can ramp that back up, and we're going to get into some of the results on the weekend of racing here in the U.S. and around the world. We had a bunch of athletes racing here and there, and maybe we could start with just some results. Ironman Cozumel, Federico was competing down there on the weekend, got the swim done in just over an hour. It was average pace 135s, and then his bike time 5:34, so good bike result there. And then he ran transitioned, and then he ran 3:52 on the marathon, so he had a good day overall, and I think he came in at about 10:30 or something around that time. But great seeing Federico. This is his 3rd Ironman, and he ran New Zealand earlier on in the year, and it's his PB, so he should be happy with that. And another SFuels athlete working with us down in Cozumel. Well, hey, down in Australia we had some athletes. It's an interesting race, this one. It's like 3 triathlons back to back, and 1.5 swim and 40k, so and then 18k trail run, and then a 3.5k swim, 38k mountain bike run, and then 11k trail run, and then finally a 1.2k swim, 23k mountain bike, and a 13k trail run. And John Hill, he's actually our SFuels representative in Australia, and I think he's done 23 World Championships in Kona, but he took the age group, and he was, I think, 3rd overall on the podium, so he had a great race, and we'll have to get him on sometime here in the stadium and talk through that race. It's certainly a different format for sure. So, Dan, I've got your data up here on screen at the moment, and we can have a chat through this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I can talk you through it. So maybe just give us high level. How many Ironman races have you completed now, Dan? Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, maybe just talk us through the numbers. Looks like, what is that? 120, 129. Is it on the swim? Right. Okay. Gotcha. That's quite a bit. Yeah. Right. Right. And transitional came together okay?
To make sure I had everything, considering they spaced out the aid stations on the bike. So
yeah, got it.
pretty good. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Okay, folks, you can bring that back to a rest, and I got a 4-minute rest here, and we'll keep talking with Dan on his experience at Ironman Florida. So the bike, it's flat. What in terms of your plan, in terms of getting through the miles, did pretty much go to plan?
Yeah, we expected wind. It's always windy up there or down there. So I think it was 15, 20 mile an hour winds northeast. So
Oh wow, okay.
most of the entire way out, it's fighting the wind, and you get the benefit out of the way back,
Yeah.
which is nice. But yeah, we generally shoot for 5.5 to 5:45, so I think it came in a little above that. But overall, pretty good.
Yeah. Good. All right, folks, we're about 3 seconds here from kicking off into this number 4 rep. This will be halfway. When we get through this one, I'll bring the music up. You have any other athletes in your area there that were racing on the weekend, Dan? Or on, at Ironman Florida?
I saw one other athlete in the white SFuels kit. But from the local area, there was, I think, about 8 or 9 people.
Okay.
A combination of doing the half and the full. So very, very good to see some of those teammates out on the course.
You got a few good clubs down there?
Oh, yeah. The track Segafredo triathlon team down here has got 4 Kona qualifiers on the team.
Wow.
Various age groups. So, yeah, it's a good group to train with.
That's great. Yeah.
Keep up with that, makes you faster.
Did you pass a few on the bike?
A couple past me, but it's just not how it works.
Depends which way you mean, and you pass by them or they pass by each other on the other side of the road, right?
Yeah, if it's a 2-loop bike, I could say yes, but
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, we got some more racing coming up in Florida. Obviously, I'll be keen later on in the show here to get your thoughts on who tops the podium in Daytona, so we'll get to that. But, folks, we got another 2 minutes to go on this interval, so I'll bring the music back up and let you get into it.
So fragile, like it was built to break off the handle. How'd we get to this place? We're leaving everything behind for new and exciting things.
Thanks, Lee, for getting under that 5 for us this morning, putting that up there and putting on the board another sub-5 minutes kilometer from Lee Glassman. Nice work, buddy.
I'll be holding you. I'll be holding you.
I think I got to get a sub-4 minute one because Tim Reynolds is knocking out the sub-4 minutes. I gotta get a new bell.
I'll be holding you. I'll be holding you.
getting under the 5 this morning. Nice to see. All right, folks, we can bring that back. That's 4 down. We're halfway through this morning, and we got a minute to rest here. And some of you might have seen we produced this blog a week and a bit ago on coffee and cacao. It's getting a lot of attention around the internet, and obviously we talk a lot about all the different training routines that can turn on our fat oxidation and also a low carb, high fat diet. But this particular article just talks a little bit about the key 4 aspects or the steps in fat oxidation, and specifically a few foods that impact several of these 4 steps, particularly step 1 and step 4. And those 2 foods, you're probably already taken them, but it's more about, this article talks a little bit about more about how you use them and how to consume them in the spirit of maximizing fat oxidation. Those 2 foods is coffee and cacao or chocolate, typically how it's consumed. But for coffee, it's not the caffeine. There's other ingredients that's actually having that effect on ramping up your fat oxidation, and you can read all about it in that article. But we do talk about how to take the coffee in order to optimize that. Folks, we're back into the 5th rep, and I'll bring that back up, and I'll come back to the article in just a second.
Why hesitate when everything is supposed to go your way? And it's foolish to assume that I won't relate.
How was the run, Dan, for you on in Florida?
My run was pretty terrible, but run course is good. The weather was pretty perfect, but I had some issues. I think I had
Right.
bad meal the night before, made a mistake of eating out.
Yeah.
Something you know not to do, but it happens.
Bit of a learning.
Yeah.
It happens.
Every single race I do is some sort of a learning experience about myself.
Yeah.
Last year, this time was the best race I put together. Best marathon I ever put together. So,
Right.
unfortunately, I came in a little cocky on that. And lack of real training this year, other than internal, probably hurt that. So,
yeah, it seemed to be a challenge for most people coming off this year and straight into the races. So as much as you think we'd all just have ability to go and train, it just wasn't that easy to put together. So
last year I had Ironman Chattanooga 5 weeks earlier as a warm-up.
Right.
Thought that was a risk, but it turned out to be pretty perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, just getting at a real starting line is what it's all about this year. So I'm going to ask you a few questions later on, just if you did it again in terms of COVID racing, just any guidance or recommendations you've given athletes today. So I'll come back to that in a second. And folks, we're about a minute and 15 to go for this 5th rep here this morning. And like I was talking earlier on coffee, basically how you take it is really important, and what you take it with if you want to maximize the fat oxidation. On cacao, there's a few compounds in it, particularly theobromine. It's also not the caffeine that's causing really triggering the fat oxidation. It's some of the other compounds. Usually for both of these substances, it's actually the flavonoids that's having this effect on improving fat oxidation. But again, there's some best practices on how you should take that cacao and not heating it, etc. And you'll see in our SFuels Life bars that we don't heat or bake those bars. We basically extrude them, and that's to keep those flavonoids as unprocessed as possible. And you can read all about it, folks, and it's up on our website, and we'll make sure we put it in the show notes. We got a couple seconds here to go on this 5th rep. Okay, folks, you can bring that back for a 1 minute rest, and then we'll getting into the pointy end of these sessions this morning. Folks, if you're running with us in the stadium on a treadmill, obviously nice to do, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere where it's starting to cool down. But if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you can pick up the free iPhone app on the iPhone Apple App Store, and you can take that out on the road. Press play when we stream and start the show, and you can do the whole session out on the road while listening to the session and staying with the training session. And the app will keep streaming too. You can turn the screen off, put it in your bag, your pocket, and keep going. And stay with us in the stadium, out on the road. Okay, here we go, folks, into rep number 6. We're going to bring that back up now. 4 minutes. So yeah, Dan, if you did it all again, or you're giving guidance to athletes out there about to race during this COVID period, what's your advice?
I felt safer than going to Costco. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it's all outdoor. The Ironman's doing the best possible job they can. Probably a little overly cautious in many ways, but having scheduled time to do check-in and check your blanket and everything was actually really nice. Kind of avoided piles of people. But,
takes a bit longer?
No, it actually was
pretty efficient.
For me, entering in to leaving was actually quite quick. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, other than having to wear a mask while you're stationary and less spectators and things, not much different. Still 3 sports, 2 transitions. You know, saw a lot of people with too much water or camelbacks in their back while they were running, and I think it was probably overkill. But 8 stations on the run were 2 miles apart, so
okay.
So basically, just be prepared to help yourself and move forward. Yeah.
A lot of the ultra races, basically athletes are wearing buffs as they come in and out of the aid stations. Obviously, Ironman, once you've started, it's all... when do you have to take the mask off?
Right when you hit the water, essentially. There's
a
trash bin right at the water, so... but they're keeping everybody spaced out as well, so that's obviously doing a good job of that. But, temperature checks, which, whether that's helpful or not, who knows, but they're doing that all the time. So.
It's good to see them doing everything they possibly can to make it as safe as possible, and kudos to the Ironman folks for trying to keep it sane. And it's just a tough year for everyone, but it's really interesting, Dan, and thanks for sharing a lot of that information with us. And not everyone's had the experience of racing out there this year, so thanks for giving us some insight, folks. I'm going to bring up the music now, and we got about a minute to go on this 6th rep. Nice pace out there in Watopia this morning. Okay, Okay, folks, we can bring that back. Well, here's the $6 million question, Dan. Daytona. What's your recommendations? Top of the podium.
I've been looking for about 25 minutes to see who's even starting, and Challenge doesn't do a very good job showing that. But
Yeah.
it's hard to argue against Lionel Sanders, although he generally
Right.
finds a way to not win the race.
Yeah.
So personally, I think it's probably going to be Sam Long, Lionel, and then maybe T.O. for third.
What? No thoughts about the Brownlee presence?
Is Brownlee coming in?
Yeah, Alice is going to be there.
Ooh,
That shakes it all up, right?
yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe slot him in second and then shift Lionel down to third and push T.O. down.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're in rep number 7. I'll bring that music back up, and we're going to come back to that question of Daytona in a second. Sorry, Bob, what was that?
There's no list of pros that I've been able to find on any of their sites. Ironman at least will publish the start list.
Yeah.
Although I saw Keemla is going to be there, or trying to be there. I don't know whether he can get out of the country, but
Yeah, I think a few of them got a special pass, right, coming into the U.S. under the sports.
yeah. Especially considering they could pay off their entire year.
Right.
One
Exactly.
finish line.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're 3 minutes to go on this 7th rep. I'll bring that music back up and let you get into it.
Again, I'm gonna get up to another day. I'm not giving up again. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna get up again.
Well, same for the women. I know they got athletes coming from all over the world, pro women athletes coming in too. I think Crowley's coming in from Australia, which I'll be cheering for, and a few folks obviously coming in across the US and from Europe. So it's got to be a tight podium for the men's and the women's. It'll be a spectacle for sure. So I'm sure everyone will be tuned in there to see how it runs. But it's just the format of the race, of course. On the Daytona Speedway, it just puts a whole new view to racing, and feels like Lionel's had some good training in the velodrome.
Yeah, it's a different style race though, and the ITU guys are a wild card considering they tend to ride and pack.
Yeah,
A draft race.
right. Well, I was listening to Lionel and Bob Babbitt talk the other day. Really good interview that Bob had with Lionel, and Lionel was just talking about coming off his 1 hour record and just how it felt to step off the bike when your body has just been literally fixed in that position for an hour. And he said he's never felt sorer jumping off the bike after that. And he was saying that every 4 seconds he was into a corner. So just to give you a sense of the speed he was going, and then a slight change in the eyes would just shoot him up into the berm of the velodrome. So very much a fixed position for a whole hour. So tough.
Yeah, he said that the turning was what killed him. Constant turning, which you never do in an Ironman.
Yeah.
Not that much.
Great. All right, folks, we have 30 seconds to go. I'll bring the music up and let you finish this off. Okay, we can bring that back to the last minute rest, folks, and then we'll get into the final interval in about a minute's time. And just got up on screen here, the next stadium session's coming up. As I said, this weekend we're going to try our first brick, and we'll see how that comes together. Got Lewis Ryan. He's the ITU off-road world champion, triathlon world champion, and he's going to join us to run us through that brick, and we're going to hear about his Xterra and ITU racing plans for 2021. The Xterra racing calendar just came out, and he'll be walking us through that, no doubt. And following that, we've got back next Tuesday, another high-intensity Tuesday with a bike FTP session. I think Lee Glassman might join us for that. But for now, folks, it's back into the 8th and final rep, 4 minutes at lactate threshold. We'll bring that up now, folks. So Dan, talking about 2021, what's in Stan and the Wilson camp?
All the races I couldn't do in 2020. So we got Ironman Texas in April, assuming it happens.
Yeah.
Then in the fall, 8 weeks apart, no thanks to the scheduling, I've got Ironman Chattanooga and Ironman Maryland. 8 days apart, I should say.
Gotcha.
So,
Hey Lee, nice going at the end there, buddy. Still staying in the sub 5 club on the 8th and final rep. Nice going. And how many races did you have planned for 2020, Dan?
I had 4. I was going to do Texas, Tulsa 5 weeks apart, take a break, and I was going to do Chattanooga and Florida 5 weeks apart.
Gotcha.
Florida would have gotten to my 12 for Ironman Legacy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was talking to Raymond last week here in the stadium, and his response was the same when I asked him about his race, and he said, everything I didn't get done, I'm going back to do it. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's frustrating to see everybody complaining about how Ironman handled it.
Great.
Frankly, I think they handled it as best as they could.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, hey, it's been great having you in the ambassador team in 2020. Thanks for all your support, and I assume you're thinking about staying with us in 2021?
Oh yeah. Can make do on fitness and everything that I had in Florida, and trying to push through and get the last 3 races in my way to Kona, hopefully.
Cool. So, I'm going to let everyone get back to it here as they finish off. We're about a minute 30 to go, folks, on this 8th and final rep. Let's bring that back up. Lactate threshold. 30 seconds to go, folks, and that'll be it for High Intensity Tuesday here in the stadium. It looks like someone's got sights on the back of Lee there, tracking him down in Watopia, so he's getting stalked.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. we must never stop.
All right, folks, we can bring that back. And nice work on finishing the passion through the 8th interval. It's been a big session this morning. It's always tough, these sessions that Zach puts on for us, but good to see everyone getting through the 8 this morning and getting our high-intensity session done on this Tuesday morning. We're going to jump across now into the recovery kitchen. If you haven't been with us before, thanks for joining. And down in the lower left there, if you haven't had a chance to try the SFuels products there's a QR code. You can scan that and get access to a pretty low-cost pack. And this is also where we talk a little bit about our SFuels Revival formula, which is really purpose-built for recovery with high-dose glutamine, ketones, and high-dose whey protein isolate. So, how you feeling there, Dan?
Good.
That's great. What's the plan for the rest of the day? Into work this morning?
Yeah. Almost I'm off for the week, so.
Yeah. For sure. Well, hey, it's been awesome talking with you and giving us the background to Ironman Florida and giving us a bit of guidance on how to go about these COVID races. That's been really helpful. Thanks for your presence and thanks for giving us the insight this morning.
Got it. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, it's been a blast, and we'll stay in touch, no doubt, as we go through this winter and keep everyone warm in the stadium. Folks, if you're out on Zwift or whatever, take a shot, and if you get into Instagram or Facebook, you'll find there you can search for SFuels stickers, and you can whack those stickers on your photos and post it out on the social. That'll be awesome. Well, with that, have a great Tuesday. Thanks for joining us in the stadium. It's been great having you all here. Be well, be strong, and go longer. Thanks again. Have a great one.
Champion Dave Scott and Dr. Dan Plews, the SFuels and Endure IQ Spring 2020 Quick Start Guide is out now. It's packed with info, charts, and tools to rapidly transition your endurance training and racing to your best results yet. Download yours today and raise your performance with SFuels. With tips from Ironman World Champion Dave Scott and Dr. Dan Plews, the SFuels and Endure IQ Spring 2020 Quick Start Guide is out now.